Okay, welcome back to our boxing cast with special guest Simon.
Love that special.
Very special guest. To review the the fights that we previewed. The first one being Stephen Fulton versus Naoya Inoue. And then Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford. And shall we start with Coolboy versus the Monster? Get right into it. What did you think?
It's a boxing lesson, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say I was surprised, but not surprised, if you know what I mean. I was surprised how easily he dealt with him.
Well, I think if we go back to our review, we were both in a way he was going to win, and we did think he would get the best of him.
And you would knock him out.
But not quite as easily as that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I
think everybody's surprised by how easy he made it look. And there's a school of thought, I think, where they're saying, Fulton didn't really do it, but I think that's being disrespectful both to him and Inoue. I think it's just, Inoue is that good. He's generational talent.
Did Fulton disappoint me? Yeah, but he just didn't have any answers, and that's why.
Well, I think we said in our watch along, isn't it? It was we're getting into position. We were like, oh, he's going to do something now, and then he just wouldn't let his hands go because I think, as you said,
he knew he was going to get tagged. I think the speed surprised Fulton.
Yeah.
I think the speed.
Speed and movement really did.
That was the biggest
surprise
thing.
him a lot because he seemed to be in shock.
Yeah, and I think I give Fulton. I can't remember if I give him did I give him a round? Maybe I give him the third.
I think you did, and I was like, "You're being generous."
Yeah, I think I give him the third. I think his work rate was a little bit better in the third, and that's what maybe caught my eye. But it just seemed like anybody looked like he was having a good time in there as well.
He looked like he was warming up. It was a sparring match. At the end, he looked like he just had a warm up, and he was going to go into. He could have another fight.
I think in a way knew after a couple of rounds, this guy ain't going to bother me, and he could pretty much. It was just pinning him down to.
Well, I think the thing I liked is the professionalism of it. He never rushed. It just looked like he was, this is my game plan. I'm just going to do it slowly. When the opportunity comes,
stuck to his game plan. Systematically broke him down. I think if he'd have pushed it a little bit earlier, he could have got him out of there early. I think he was doing the lovely 1-2 combinations. And I think we said during the watch along, I want to see a 3-4 punch combinations now. I think if he'd have started doing them a bit earlier, he'd have got him out earlier.
Well, I think the most impressive thing is we were waiting for that hooks to the body that he normally does, and he didn't. He changed his game plan to be, because I think Fulton, I think we discussed it, isn't it, has the really good defense, his arms down against it, so he just jabbed him to the body and kept setting him up with it was how good the jab was.
His jab
and
was
Fulton's
superb.
supposed to have a really good jab. He does, normally in fights, he's a good jab, and I think Inoue just completely neutralized it. He got it through about, once or twice?
Yeah, I was watching on the Spencer Oliver Call for podcast the other day, and they were saying, your proper greats, they've all got fantastic jabs.
Yeah.
And it's true, if you can get your jab going.
Well, I think we knew Inoue had a good jab, or a very good jab. I think that the surprising thing for me was how much better it was than Fulton. He completely took out Fulton's.
Yeah, I think what surprised everyone is...
And then his foot speed and hand speed, his speed in and out. He'd do his damage, get out, do his damage, get out, do his damage, get out.
I mean, his footwork is fantastic, and that's what I think most people who've... And I anyway, he's the monster. So people who don't know much of him are expecting a knockout artist. I think what he showed is
so much more than that.
He reminds me a bit like Usyk.
Yeah.
In the fact he's got really good footwork and movement. The only difference is he doesn't mind. It looks like he doesn't really mind getting hit in the face either.
I think Fulton did when he got the overhand rights in a couple of times, but didn't slow him down.
No.
And I think in a way said afterwards, although I haven't managed to get the full thing, but from notes I've seen, they did the game plan up to round 4 and then realised they needed to get him to open up a bit. So he let him have a few jabs, let him have a few shots to get him to open up and then set up the knockdown.
I mean, like, it's that old cliche, you can't knock someone out that's running the whole time.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to do.
I think you got to give credit to Fulton. Did try. I think it just looked like he wasn't, but he did try.
No, he did, and I'm not taking nothing away
distance.
from that. I think all you've just got to say is that Inoue was just far superior in every aspect.
I think Fulton gives most people a really good fight because of his ring IQ, his speed, because he's quick as well. And his movement, he didn't give up. He didn't go back into the ropes all the time. Yeah, he was moving, but it was more the hesitancy because he knew whatever I think it was just you get demoralized because whatever you do, you get tagged back and faster, and you can't do anything about it.
They call it pulling the trigger, don't they? Yeah. And that's what I was saying to you. When he got into range, it was like he couldn't pull the trigger. He'd go, oh no, something's going to come back at me.
And I don't blame him because there were bits where we seen him where he had a really good shot lined up. Inoue hit him twice and was in and out of distance before he even let his hand go. And he's quick.
And let's not forget,
Inoue was just like ridiculous.
When Inoue's punches are landing, they sound like heavyweight punches
his jabs sound like somebody, proper punching through.
Yeah. You don't want to be on the end of them.
No.
It was a fantastic fight. Fulton can bounce back. He can rule that division again. I don't think Inoue will stay in that division long.
I think you just take Il Undisputed and then go. I think they're going to take that fight because they called Tapalis in, Marlon Tapalis, who holds the other 2 belts.
I think there's one more fight left in that weight division and then he moves up to...
I think Tapalis is only going to take it for a payday because that's probably the biggest payday he's going to get. Yeah. No disrespect to him, it just Inoue is the big payday in that area.
The thing I like about Inoue is he's never, ever going to underestimate... Well, from what little I know of him, but he looks like he's never going to underestimate anyone.
No.
That can be a boxer's biggest downfall is when they underestimate someone.
I think they're really great, and I think he is in the class of the really great. Would never do it underestimate. They always put the work in because it's the work put in to do that. You don't get that all... Yeah, obviously he's got natural talent. He's got natural power, but it's all trained up because there were people going like, well, a rematch or something like this. Not that many, but, Fulton didn't perform. He got beaten every single way, in my opinion, because I think in terms of their preparation, they were better. In terms of his whole game plan and everything in ring IQ and speed, foot speed, hand speed, power, he was just a better fighter.
Fulton ain't taking a rematch.
No, Fulton ain't going to take it. It's bravado in the state of the moment, and I don't think he's like, he was in shock all the way through, as in like, what the hell is going on here?
No way he's taking that rematch.
No. It doesn't make sense for him.
All Fulton needs to do now is go and fight a top 15 contender.
He'll be back. He'll be good. He's the best in that division if you take out Inoue.
Yeah, wait for Inoue to move back up so the belt to come back and then he can go straight back in for another world title, to be honest.
Yeah. I think Inoue does one fight, wins Undisputed. He's two division Undisputed and he's going up. And then it gets interesting because there's a fair few fights there that he could have. And the belts are divided, aren't they?
Yeah, well, you've got, coming up, you've got Lee Wood, Josh Warrington for WBA. Mm-hmm. And I reckon, Eddie Hearn promotes both Josh Warrington and Lee Wood. Winner of that, Eddie Hearn flying Inoue over.
We hope so.
I think Eddie Hearn didn't he send? He's a big fan of Inoue, Eddie Hearn, from what I've heard. So, but moving up in weight, like I've made it clear, I think he can do a Pacquiao. I think he can.
I think there's a fair few people who think that.
I think he can move up, right, possibly up to junior welterweight, if he does it properly. Doesn't do it too quickly.
It's how much hunger he has, isn't it?
He's a young lad.
Yeah,
he's got plenty of fights left in him.
Well, if you don't get hit that much and you run around and you're usually good, I think it doesn't take as much out of you as sitting. Obviously, the training takes quite a lot out, but the problem is he ain't got the issue of getting to weight because he's going up in him. I think he's got one fight in this, he'll Undisputed, and then he'll go up, and then it depends how he gets on and how he copes there.
Yeah,
because he isn't a huge guy even compared to Pacquiao, although he's pretty similar. I think he's about half an inch shorter. And
I mean, like I say, if you look at Pacquiao when he was down at bantamweight, super bantamweight.
But he was like quite small, and then he's
He
filled
was
out
tiny.
quite well. So
if he can get that muscle on properly,
and like Pacquiao carried the power and the speed. It's speed, I think, is the most
speed's the most important thing. If he
He's
can
obviously
take
got the
that
power.
speed, I mean, I think when Freddie Roach was speaking to a nutritionist, he said to him, "Don't care what you do with him, do not kill Pacquiao's speed.
Yeah.
Don't care what he looks like, just do not take away his speed."
Yeah.
Because he knew that was his biggest attribute, if you like. Because
Do you think in a way he's got more attributes? I think he's a more complete boxer.
I think he's a more complete boxer. I think Pacquiao.
I'm not sure Inoue can do the 8 division thing, but I think Inoue, as a package, is a more complete boxer. He's one of the most complete boxers we've ever
Pacquiao's
seen.
faster.
Yeah.
And Pacquiao combination punching is faster. And that would say is the big. But Pacquiao, Pacquiao was a left-hand happy fighter when he first started. He didn't know how to use his right hand, and until he went to Freddie Roach.
Inoue knows how to use both hands very, very well.
But they developed Pacquiao, and Inoue doesn't need developing as much.
Well, he looks like, and I think we said this on our review, he just looks like he's getting better every fight. That was an exceptional performance against a very, very good fighter. I think that, he just made it look easy.
I'm talking about him in the same regards as Pacquiao.
Yeah,
now that's
which is a huge thing for you.
Biggest compliment I can give him.
Mr. Pacquiao fanboy.
And
I think now we're in Inoue. Well, I think we were already Inoue fanboys.
And I like I said, I want to see him clean up this division, and then I want to see him move up in weight. And I think he needs some massive names now.
Yeah. Well, I think now as he's established himself, and I think around the world it's sort of rung, wait a minute, this guy's the real deal.
I think he still needs that defining big name fight. Don't forget, if he has fought some fantastic people, but Pacquiao's defining big name fight. It was Barrera, Morales, De La Hoya, and then everyone knew about him because he beat De La Hoya.
Well, I think at the lower weights you're a bit unlucky because nobody really knows who they are. They're not as big, huge.
That's what I mean.
We were really on in a way and thingy, but a lot of boxing people, the lay person, they're not really into it.
That's why he needs that superstar. He needs that superstar, whether it be
I think he needs to do a fight in the UK and a fight in the US.
Yeah, I think if he can do that.
I mean, he obviously is huge in Japan and he's got a huge following there.
Because if he gets beat, it's not the end of the world for him.
His legacy is fantastic now.
Yeah.
He's going to be undisputed in 2. I think most people aren't giving Tapales a chance unless some big, huge shock occurs. He's going to be undisputed champion in 2 weight divisions.
But against
he's 4-weight world champion.
To him, Tapales might be a big fight, but to me, Tapales isn't a big name fight.
Well, I don't think to him it's the completing. It's like completing the game. You complete the level and move up.
Yeah,
because I think it's people there would want to see it, and he's undisputed.
Yeah.
Someone like he's got a huge following. He will make money.
Someone like a Josh Warrington, because he's he's been a 2-time world champion. He's well known around the world.
He needs to get the next weight up because that's where there's a few fighters they're not huge, but they've got a name and they've got a bit of about them.
A superstar, and people, a lot more people then go, oh, hold on.
Well, if he goes through them like he's gone through the rest, though, that's the problem. I think sometimes he's a victim of he's that good that he makes everything look easy and people don't appreciate what he's done. Because I'm not sure that many people appreciate what he's done to Fulton because they don't know Fulton or how his level is and realise that this guy's just made a really, really good fighter look like he's a
I first
partner.
knew of him, I'll be honest, when he fought Gavin McDonald. But then I watched him against Nonce Donaire. And, and he won the Super 6 tournament. And Donaire is
a Hall of Famer.
4
world champion. And maybe soon again, another.
Maybe.
Although his last fight was a bit...
And, if Donaire had been 3-4 years younger...
Yeah, it could have had a different result.
That would have been his superstar fight,
to
be fair to him. But Donaire was just a little bit past it. He'd had a couple of losses.
Well, I think in that fight he did perform like his old self. I think it was old Lion had his... last match and made it. I think we said that in the review.
Yeah.
He gave a superb performance, whereas I don't think he's been as good as that in his other fights. It was just the fighting somebody that good got him back to being, you know, something special as well. But he cleaned him out in 2 rounds in this rematch. I think that fight was really good for him because he's got a lot better since then. His defense is more focused than his thingy. He's just his focus. Because what he's done to people since that fight,
I think because Daenerys shook him.
Yeah.
And I think that's made him. It
was a wake up call.
Wow, okay.
There are other boxes as well. It's not just me.
And you know, I wish him the best. I hope he comes over to the UK. I'll go to it. Nope.
Yeah,
definitely go to it.
This from there.
Like I say, I don't think he's in them. Like you say, it's unfortunate. He is in the weight categories he's in because there's no massive names there really. Until he starts moving on.
There are good names, but they're not huge names just because people aren't about it. It's like heavyweight, you can be average, but you're a huge name. As we've seen quite a lot of them, they can, you know, they get a following, they get lots of the buys. Whereas in the low weight divisions, you've got to be more like we are, proper enthusiasts.
But I say that, I bet you if you go to Japan and say Naoya Inoue, God,
hyperstar.
Yeah, you know, he's the biggest thing. He'd be like Pacquiao in the Philippines. You know, the country stops when he's fighting.
I think he was trying for.
But no, Fulton, he can come back. He can.
Oh, he's a world champion level fighter. He's not. He's just you come up against generational greatness. That's
be interesting.
That's just unlucky.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what Fulton does next. In a way, take care of this division and then move up.
It's one fight. Yeah. I think he'll do that. I don't think there's anybody. There's no point in him fighting anybody else because Fulton was the best in that division. I think he's already won. Tapalis is the other one. He'll win that.
What are we in now? Being involved.
So next year he'd be moving to.
Yeah, India, I think he should fight November, December, and then.
Yeah, this year he should clean up, win that one, which he probably will. Yeah. And then next year go through
because he's 2 or 3 fights and go through the. He could have 3 fights a year. You know, have a fight November, December.
Let's be honest. You know, he looked less tired than we do after doing this. Yeah, we're just talking.
I think all boxers should be fighting 3 times a year, to be honest. Maybe 4.
Well, they used to fight a lot, isn't it?
God,
Tyson, how many? Well, like 15 in about 2 years or 18 months or something silly.
We've had that discussion before, haven't we? Where I totally disagree.
I think now it's trying to drum up the business, isn't it? It's a bit more focused on that, and then there's more negotiations and all that stuff, which has made it. Whereas I think in the periods before, it was more about the fights than all the business stuff. But separate. That's a separate conversation.
Yeah.
So scorecard, shall I do? Mine was basically every round to Inoue. Had 10-9, 10-9, 10-9, 10-9, 10-9, 10-9, 10-9, and then TKO, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I'd give Fulton the third out of.
You were just nicer than me. I was you were a bit more generous. I think he had a couple where the 5th and the 7th he opened up a little bit because I think in a way after that gave him 3rd one. I think he came out because he realised I'm 2 rounds down here. I think his corner to give him a nudge. Yeah, but then in my book, in a way, just swung it back.
Everything else was just. Is that the first time you ever watched the fight in silence?
Yes.
How did you find it?
Strange, but it not as bad as I thought it would be. Because I like the atmosphere normally. Because we normally have the
scoring it. Do you find
you're more accurate?
Yeah, because you're not
swayed by the crowd as much,
or the commentators.
Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it?
I think it's probably better way if you're scoring. It's if you're just watching, I think it's fine with the sound, but it's better with the sound because it's entertaining. But if you're actually analysing, I think it's better without the sound. I mean, you've done it before, haven't you? So,
yeah.
For me, it was a first
experience.
Because
I've had this conversation before. The judges at ringside, I think they should
be in like sound booths with like this with the headphones on and silenced.
Because
I think you're probably right.
Yeah, because I think a crowd can make.
I think it's a good shout.
The
crowd makes a massive difference.
I mean, if you hear that and it's just glove hitting glove, but the crowd are going, well, you're automatically going to go, that was.
I think the interesting thing in this fight and the one we're going to speak about is that in the Japanese were actually very polite because even for Fulton, even at the end and the thing, they didn't boo him off. They would give him a good cheer. They were really respectful.
Of
even in a way, I think
the German crowd. You know when Klitschko used to fight and they're all sat there, no one's standing up, but they're all.
Either it was very polite. I think the atmosphere was a little bit more neutral because I watched it back obviously with the sound afterwards.
I think that's why British fans are the best fans because we're just up and down.
Biased as anything but raucous.
No, but we are. I think most boxers will say.
But it's more atmosphere.
Unless or is it maybe like on in Mexico
ones,
when there's a big Mexican fight on that? Apparently, that can be absolutely.
Well, yeah,
mayhem.
I think if it's Canelo or their fighters, any of them they sport, but obviously like Canelo's a god there. It's the same as Inoue's there. I think the Japanese are just more polite in their nature. But it was really nice to see the respectfulness of all the things.
And it was nice to see fellow champions fighting fellow champions. Want to see more of that.
And I think if you're happy, I think we call this one, and we will go into the next one, which is fellow champion fighting fellow champion. We've been spoilt in a week.
Moves us on nicely.
Okay, so we'll have a quick pause and then we'll start on our next one.
Welcome to the Boxing Podcast.
Welcome back. Right, now we'll move on to our, champion v champion.
Number 2.
I think what we missed in the first one is, for a few days, Inoue was pound for pound king. Well, for you, I think he was pound for pound king before.
Yeah.
I think for me, after that performance, he was the pound for pound numero uno for about 4 days until the Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Bud Crawford fight. We watched it. We didn't do the watch along for this because of the timing, but you did watch it live. So I watched it. I recorded it and ignored all phone and news and everything till I got to watch it. What did you think?
Firstly, I just want to say congratulations to both fighters for getting
making it happen. Yeah, I think we need to do that.
Well done to you. And if more fighters followed suit, I think boxing would be in a much better place than it is now.
I'm not ignoring. I'm just putting my scorecard on.
But the event itself was fantastic. Eminem coming on the ring walk.
Oh, that was epic.
I
think
like
he just won there, isn't it? I was like, okay, he's coming out second and he's got Eminem walking him out. That's just,
The undercard wasn't the best, but I didn't expect it to be honest. But the main event itself, shock. I'll be honest with you, shock. No, I'm not surprised because I think the result I kind of predicted. But I was just shocked at how good Terence Crawford was.
I think there's a lot of people in there. I've got to be honest. I obviously I'm a Crawford fanboy. We said that on our preview of the fight.
Yeah.
We're both fans of Crawford. I'm a fan of Spence as well. And in any other thing, I'm probably, egging on Spence. But I did think Crawford was going to win, but not by that margin.
No.
I thought it would take, I think we said 3-4 rounds for Crawford to get warmed up, work him out, and then it was just going to be how long it took him to wear him out. I thought it was going
to be,
I thought it'd be a lot closer.
Yeah, I
think everybody thought it'd be a lot closer.
Spence would have pick rounds and Crawford would have rounds. But I wrote down, it reminded me of Calzaghe versus Lacey.
Yeah.
It was that one-sided.
And I think you're more in shock because you don't expect it to be. There are some fighters in some fights you think, because there's not really a match. This was supposed to be a match of two, like a 50-50 fight.
This was a 50-50 fight. Let's not, all right, we said Crawford would win, but it was a 50-50 fight because if Spence had won, you wouldn't have been shocked.
No.
But on the night, it didn't look like a 50-50 fight at all. After round 2, it was not a 50-50 fight. And fair dues to Spence for staying in there because I think a lot of other fighters...
a lot of respect would have gone a lot earlier.
Yeah. Oh, God,
They'd have been out of there, maybe even the second round.
Crawford's jab.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we said about it in a way. Crawford's, I think, was even better.
Crawford's jab was just absolutely...
He knocked him down in the second with his jab.
Well, Crawford's...
Because he didn't do 1-2, he did a 2-1.
I mean, Spence said it was his jab that basically just...
His jab and his timing.
Crawford threw 369 jabs and landed 185 and just over 50%.
Which in a fight that's 50-50 and a world, for a world title fight is just like ridiculous.
Well, if you look at Spence threw 480 jabs and landed 98.
Yeah, which is more like a typical thing. Just
couldn't
keep up with the pace.
But Crawford's jab isn't a range-finding jab. And... Because in boxing you have your range-finding jab, but then you get your jab that's setting yourself up. And it's a piston, bang, bang. It's a hurtful jab.
Well, Spence's to go the other side. Spence's is a rangefinder because he sets everything up off that jab.
Whereas Crawford's, it was a hurtful jab.
The knockdown in the second round was if I remember correctly, the seventh round one. One of them was with the jab. It was a 2-1 and it was a jab. I think it was the first knockdown in the seventh round. In the seventh round.
It's just fantastic.
He just timed him. He worked him out in a round, which I think was just... The first round, because I had it scored, I give 10-9 to Spence for the first round. And then every other round was Crawford's. 10-8 in the second because he got the knockdown. 10-9, 10-9, 10-9, 10-9. In the seventh, 10-7 because it was 2 knockdowns. Yeah. 10-9 in the eighth. And then obviously the knockout TKO in the ninth.
I think I was expecting Crawford to maybe take 4 or 5 rounds to work Spence out.
Yeah. Well, that's what we said in our preview.
But I think... his game plan, obviously, which his trainers have come up with, I just nailed it. Even when he'd knock Spence down, I was expecting, he's going to rush in. No, straight back to work, jab, 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 jab.
I think that's the thing about him, man. Anyway, they both just the plan. They didn't rush it. It's that uber confidence when you're great, I'm going to win. It's just a matter of time.
Just didn't rush anything. Just stuck to the game plan. Spence's corner. I think Spencer's corner looked like they'd seen a ghost. They were like, what do you say to your fighter?
Well, I think we discussed this in off camera, isn't it? I was like, well, yeah, but his corner let him down. And you were like, well, yeah, but what are you going to actually tell him to do?
What can you tell him to do? Your corner, go back to your basics, use your jab. Oh, no, you can't because he's beating you to the jab. All right, make it a phone box style fight. Well, close in, he's getting the better of you. He was
getting the better of him.
Run away. You can't. He's cutting the ring off too quickly. Go for the knockout. I am, but he's beating me to the punch as well. I can't knock him out.
Because he tried and he caught him with a few good punches. But everything he did, Crawford just responded with interest.
His corner, Spencer's corner didn't know. It was like, it must come a time when you've just got to go, do you know what? It's just not your night.
No.
It doesn't.
And I think they were down near the end where just keep your hands up.
Yeah, and you're just hoping, right?
Yeah, if you can pull
land
off
that
good
one
punch.
shot that can turn a fight around. I don't think Spence.
The thing, Spence isn't the one-shot guy.
No,
he's the jab and then set up body shots and things to slow you down. He couldn't get... Because he did catch him with a few good body shots and things, but I don't think he ever really caught him cleanly apart from 1 or 2 punches.
Crawford made Spence, and let's be honest, he made him look like a novice.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have thought Spence was a pound for pound.
Three belt holder, pound for pound, top 5, whatever. Most people's list, he's in the top 5.
If you'd never watched these two fight or ever heard them and you watched them, you wouldn't have said Spence was... You'd have said it was a mismatch, let's be honest. And
we'd have been slacking it off and saying... But I think that's not a testament to Spence not performing on night. I think it's just how good Crawford
is. It. You can't take anything.
First two weight world.
Yeah, we were saying,
on the 4 belt here it is.
Inoue needs a superstar fight. Well, that was Crawford's superstar fight.
Let's put him on the map.
He technically doesn't need to fight anyone else. I'd go as far to say I put him up there with Sugar Ray Leonard.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say...
I think he's all-time
at
great
a welterweight
now, already.
He beats... This version of Crawford beat Mayweather, beat Pacquiao.
I think he's more complete as a boxer than either Mayweather or Pacquiao. Mayweather, because obviously defensively, was probably the best. But yeah, I think once he's injured his hand, he wasn't offensively as good.
Yeah.
Obviously got his shots in, but not with the power, not with the ferocity that Crawford hits with.
You've got to put him up there as one of the greats of all time.
And it's that ring IQ, working everything out. Like, it's like a chess match. He's working out your strategy in real time while you're trying to punch him.
Yeah. That's
special.
That's why he kind of does remind me a little bit of Kawasaki, because he's got game plan A, game plan B, game plan C, game plan D. He can adapt during the fight, which is so hard to do.
And I think that was Spence's failing. He had plan A and that's it.
Whereas Crawford, he can change plans during the round. Which is a massive attribute to have.
He's probably even better as a southpaw than in orthodox, even though that's not the way his hands are. But he's adept at both. He's got power in both hands. You know, I think people never realised how good his jab was, but it was like it's like a.
Well, I think we said before the fight,
right hand.
The biggest thing I noticed with Crawford was when he fought Khan and he was faster than Khan. Which is.
But he adapted. He wasn't because Khan was doing quite well,
and then
he just timed him and then switched it, and then Khan was like the face of like Fulton was in the other one, and Spence, and this is like
get me out of here and
going on here.
And let's be honest, Khan found a way out by getting it in the balls and went, I'll take it. See you later.
Well, in the commentary thing, you could see that he sort of perked up once he won because it was basically like, well, you were all slagging me off for being with this guy. I lasted this long,
No, I think. He's pound for pound number one now.
I have both of them, but I think he's just slightly ahead. They're like 1A and 1B.
No, he's pound for pound number one. He's undisputed at 2 weights now. And let's not forget, the first time I heard of Terence Crawford was when he fought Ricky Burns. And Ricky Burns was a great fighter in Scotland, in his hometown. Hard place to go. And he outpointed Ricky Burns, and Ricky Burns even said that this guy is a talent. And I think Ricky Burns was the favourite for that fight, if I remember. That was a lightweight.
Well, Burns was a champion, wasn't he?
Yeah,
that's what he took Burns the first belt off, isn't he?
Burns is a 3-weight world champion. Let's not forget about that. He's a 3-weight world champion. He was no mug, and especially going to Scotland. Which with the crowd,
I think we discussed crowds. They're one of the most biased.
Wow.
On one side with their own fighter.
I think Crawford beat him on points, which was a hard thing to do against Ricky Burns. So, I did know Crawford was.
I think we all knew he was good. He was he's a special talent, but I think nobody really appreciated, apart from maybe himself and his team, how special he is.
I mean, because let's be honest, he took care of Amir Khan, he took care of Nickel Brook.
He's been disrespected on a lot of his people
but
he's made them look
David Avanesian, and I just remember saying that, no one wanted to fight David Avanesian. David Avanesian is a bloody handful.
And he knocked him out.
Crawford dismantled him in 6 rounds.
He's knocked everybody out in the welterweight division.
When his power's getting better and better. He's 35 years of age, yet he seems to be getting younger. Like I say, he reminds me a little bit of Kawasaki. He's just getting better and better.
Well, we said about Inoue looking like he hadn't. Crawford just looked like he'd been for a jog. He didn't even look like he'd been working.
Did he have a sweat
compared? And if you look at him, Fulton was okay. Looked better. Crawford, if you compare Crawford to Spence's face,
it was rearranged. I tell you what also was great was the respect between the two of them, though, as well.
I think what's really impressed me, and because I hadn't heard that much of Crawford's press conference, you see a little bit when they're just a little bit worked up, how respectful he was in all the things, and how respectful were his end. And I thought, you're a great fighter, great fighter, but that really raised the bar.
Yeah, I mean, if you can,
because he hugged him and gave him the thing of respect at the end and said, "Look,"
and that's, I think
he's a gentleman as well.
Don't get me wrong, all the trash talking, blah blah blah, it sells a fight. When you got two big superstars like that, you don't need trash talking. We want to see that fight. We've always wanted to see that fight. You don't need to do the trash talking. So it was great that you showed a lot of respect for each other before and after the fight, because they both know that how good they are. I think.
Well, I think they brought out. I think he's also got to respect. I think it's how good Spence's is brought out how good Crawford
and Spence
is.
Hasn't made any excuses. Like he said, the best man won on the night. And do you know what? You get more respect for just coming out and saying the best man won on the night than you will for trying to make an excuse.
And you've got to respect that they're trying to work it out. And that they haven't seen the fight back. They haven't seen what's gone on.
And sometimes.
And on the day he was.
Yeah. And sometimes if the best man does win on the night, oh well. Unlucky.
You got to be respectful of Spence. Spence, exceptional fighter in the basics. and it's won him all these things up to now.
Yeah.
I think, and I think at 154 he'd win most of the things, except that Crawford's probably going to go there and fight Jamel Charlo, and then that might be.
I think I might be wrong, Spence. I get the feeling Spence likes a bit of a party lifestyle.
I've heard rumours, yes.
So I think, and that this is, any up and coming boxers, I think, if the one piece of advice any top professional boxer will give you is train. Because some boxers aren't technically the best, but they train harder than anyone else, and that's why they've got to the top. And if you can, and that's where I think Crawford is the utmost professional. Is he trains. He lives.
Well, I think in a way, and
lifestyle.
Crawford, you've got the fact that they're exceptional, but they train harder, at least as hard as anyone. I don't think Spence in training. I think they've got a good training camp. He's got a very good trainer, and they train. I think in this, he's just got to look at it and go, because obviously there's a rematch thing in this, but I think you've got to look at it and just go, I'm exceptional at the basics. I'm a really, really, really good elite level world class boxer. Yeah. But this guy is just something else. He's a generational talent.
Yeah, I mean,
he was better than him in everything. The preparation, his team, everything was better. He was faster in and out. He had even though he's allegedly the smaller guy, he had the snap in his punches, and he could take Errol Spence's punches, which are heavy-handed, and he's, we know what he's done to other people.
Yeah.
I can't see anything that he could do different, even at a different weight.
In a rematch, I think it ends quicker.
Yeah. Crawford knows it now, and I think he'll just take him apart.
Does Spence fight again, do you think?
I don't know, because the thing where you're saying about there's also hunger, isn't it? I think Crawford in him had the hunger because he's been disrespected for his talent. And I think, like I said, I'm a fanboy and I didn't appreciate how good he is. Yeah. Although I knew he was fantastic. He's raised the bar. We're fans and we raised the bar. I think it'd be nice for Spence to go out because of what he's done with a high. But I'm not sure he needs it or he has the hunger to do it now, because he's made good dollar, and what are you going to get? And the fight, the problem is who he fights. He goes up to 154. I think he could give a good fight to. There's a few fighters there. Virgil Ortiz, is it? And it goes. Who's the fighters in the division? And there's a few the others that are good. But the holder of the belts is Jamel Charlo, isn't it? He's fighting Canelo.
Right. Well, let's come back to Jamel Charlo in a second. How about? Here's my little.
Okay, go on.
Errol Spence versus Liam Smith.
Oh, we've had, yeah. Well, Liam Smith's got a little fight in his hands that we need to discuss at some point.
Liam Smith gets through that.
Chris Eubank Jr.
Liam Smith against Errol Spence at 154.
I think that's a good tune fight. I think it's more than a tune-up fight.
Yeah, because tell you what, Liam Smith's no mug, and Liam Smith will fancy that fight. That's a superstar fight for Liam Smith.
Yeah.
It's a good fight for Errol Spence to get in there, because I think Liam Smith ranked in every governing body in that weight division.
Yeah.
I think
he's ranked pretty highly.
Yeah, I think
top 5.
BoxRec, I think he's ranked number 6 or 7. So Errol Spence against Liam Smith.
It's a good fight.
And Errol Spence isn't afraid to travel. He's come over the UK to fight Kell Brook before, and so.
Well, it might do him good to get out of there. But even in the US, you could do that in the US. You want to sell.
Imagine Liverpool going over to Vegas.
It's not like,
We're there. Let's go.
Well, that was my point of saying it.
We're off. See you later.
Who's Liam Smith's promoter?
Callum Smith. No,
Hearn?
No. Boxer. Shalom.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know whether Liam Smith does.
But he's not going to be restricted by any TV things, is he? Because he's not on the thing. So
I don't know whether Liam Smith does it fight by fight. I'm not too sure on his contract at the moment.
What I was getting at is, so he won't be restricted on anything. He'll just be, it's beyond Spence, isn't it, to sort out.
But then if he fights Spence, it's going to be the biggest payday you get anyway. So.
Well, the thing is, he's probably better come to the UK because you'll get the bigger audience here because you'll have the Smith followers, whereas I'm not sure you'll get that following in the US, do you think? In terms of promotion.
I mean, Errol Spence is a big deal.
He'll
in
get the crowd.
So,
it's whether they want to see him and how much they want to see him fight Smith. They want to see him fight.
I mean, we're talking about this like
see a fight.
Yeah, we're talking about this like it's made. But I just think for Errol Spence,
Get on it.
that's a good fight. If you're going to move up and weight,
Yeah, I don't think he can go straight to the. I don't think he should go straight
No,
to the belts because
whereas-
of the nature of the loss. He needs to
you
get
know,
himself
Liam
back
Smith
up there.
is a good... Because Liam Smith's beatable, but Liam Smith can also beat Spence as well.
Yeah.
To me, that
Well, it's
is
like with Eubank. Nobody
Yeah,
expected him
that's
to
a-
when he pulled it out, and it was fairly
55-45
close
split
enough.
fight.
60. I would be more like about 70-30 in
Because I
Spence's
just think
favour.
Liam Smith's a clever little bugger. He really, really is
Well, he's
clever.
not that easy to get out, and he knows how to play. He's got experience.
So it would be a good fight. Charlo. Yeah, Crawford Charlo. That made should be pretty easy to do, shouldn't it?
Well, I think it depends how it gets on with Canelo. Canelo might eat him and spit him out for breakfast. I think he said that after the Canelo fight, then he's because he ummed and ahed it off first. But I think yesterday they've come out and said, yeah, that's his neck.
I think Crawford only needs 2 more fights.
Yeah.
And then he can just sail off into the sunset. And
Well,
go,
I think
"Thank
that's
you
why he's
very
picked him.
much."
I don't think he needs a tune-up. I think he goes there. That'll be a fight of good things, and I think he can win that.
Fight Charlo, and then go.
Undisputed in 3 divisions.
And then...
Although they're saying, the problem might be though, because I think if Charlo fights Canelo, they're saying the WBO, the WBA, are gonna take his. They're gonna allow him to be undisputed because it's undisputed v undisputed. But as soon as after that announcement,
He's got to
and
fight.
things,
It's mandatory.
what? Well, they're gonna take the belt off him and give it to Tim Zhu or whatever his name is.
Bloody belt.
And then take it off him, so then they'll mess it up, isn't it? But then that's obviously so they can get their earning fight. So if Crawford wins,
But
I
I'm
might not
sure
be
if
undisputed.
Crawford
be undisputed.
moved up and it was another undisputed, then the belt, you know, you can have a little...
Well, I'm sure they can take it off him and then give it to somebody. Maybe like you pause it, and then if
Yeah.
he doesn't come back. But obviously, if he's going to come back and fight,
Because let's be honest,
Crawford, he should be
Crawford's
undisputed, be
35.
undisputed.
He's not going to be...
wait
The
now.
belts are going to get fragmented soon anyway.
Well, Crawford's just going to do it and then retire, isn't he? Probably will get out of it. He's not going to be he's probably a couple of fights because there's that Tim. I'd probably cannibalizing his surname. They'd say he's quite good. Tim Tiju or whatever his name is. The other guy's brother, isn't it? I think is it the Australian guy.
I'm going to put it out there now.
And there's a few other good fighters in that 154.
Don't be surprised if Crawford fights Canelo.
Well, he sort of poured cold water on it and said he's too big. He said it's too far for him to go and because of his age.
Don't be surprised.
I didn't say that was going to happen. I just
Don't
said...
I've got a mad little sneaky, I don't know.
I think if he cleans out Charlo like he cleaned out Spence, then it's not that far. But it's another 2 weight divisions from there.
I mean, you can get to a catch weight though.
Yeah, maybe at a catch weight.
And let's be...
Because obviously that's the big, huge payday.
Yeah,
Because the Canelo's following. And then obviously
yeah,
if he
I
cleans
mean,
out
that
Charlo,
is your biggest defining fight of your career. Can Canelo move down?
Would he want to? Because he's got other fights as well, isn't it? That's the thing. He doesn't have to. Crawford probably needs it more than he needs it for his legacy. Well, not for legacy, for a payday. I don't think he needs it for legacy. I think if he beats Charlo and he's 3 weight undisputed,
Yeah, I mean, not for legacy.
you're
but,
legendary.
Oh, I don't know.
Should we save that for another one?
Yeah.
So I think we just give congrats to Terence Crawford for spoiling us and Naoya Inoue for spoiling us 2 fights. The only problem now is like what comes after because we've been spoiled by 2 absolutely immense performances.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see either of them again.
Yeah.
The only thing is that, like you said, with Crawford, I think he's only got 1 or 2 fights and then that end of that greatness.
Be interested to see if Crawford fights again this year. Because you get into that time, November, December, where a lot of fights do happen. It'd be interesting to see if Crawford fights in November, December.
I think he's always in shape. I think he said that. And he doesn't drink, does he? I think he doesn't really party. And he's pretty mature now in sound. Like when you hear him speak, I think he spends most of the time with his family, enjoys his time in Omaha. And I think he's always training and ready. He's always in pretty good shape. So I don't think, it's out of reality. The problem is, like we've said, it's getting it arranged. And then
But if it is Charlo, I mean...
That's probably going to be next year because it depends how soon he fights Canelo.
Yeah.
When's that scheduled for?
I'm not too sure.
October,
It's
November or something.
October. But then,
And then because I don't know what they're doing, whether they're doing a catch weight or going up in weight.
Yeah,
I mean,
to say Canelo, Charlo's October, so then 6 months after that, it's going to be
next year,
April, May. Is Crawford going to want to wait till April, May? At 35, 36 years of age.
Well, he's 36 fairly soon, I think.
Yeah.
This month, I think. And then
I think you want to get the fights done quicker.
Well, he might have another one in it. The thing is now he's going to get the respect. He can be in the place that he wants to be. So, but I don't think at this weight there's only Jaron Ennis. But all he's got is lose, and Ennis obviously wants the fight because that's his defining opportunity. It serves no purpose for Terence Crawford.
It really, really doesn't. It's like the Joe Calzaghe, Carl Froch thing,
Doesn't really serve.
It doesn't make sense. Yeah, for Carl Froch it does, but for someone who's in the latter end of the career, fighting a young up-and-coming
Charlo makes far more sense than that.
There's no belts on the line. It's not going to be a massive payday. Not a lot of point, really.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see.
Okay, cool. Shall we call that a day then?
Yeah.
Thank you, Terence Crawford.
Legend.
Yep. Cool. Okay, welcome back. Let's do a bit of previews. I think the next one is Joshua versus somebody, and you're going to fill me in because you were the one who broke the news to me after the disappointment of our man White.
Yeah, so it's been a crazy few days. So Saturday morning, we got the news that Matchroom announced that Dillian White had failed a WADA test. So they cancelled that fight.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously Eddie Hearn's Eddie Hearn has obviously been working really hard the last couple of days.
As he needs to.
Earning his money. The reason Joshua is still fighting, and they've picked Robert Helenius. Now, obviously, there were a lot of rumours that it could have been Derek Chisora, Andy Ruiz, Joseph Parker, blah, de, blah, de, blah. Now, the Chisora fight, I don't think anyone really.
There's not much point in it's like he's the B-side version of White, other than that.
Yeah, then there was the Andy Ruiz fight, but I'm not being funny.
They've already had 2 goes.
They've had 2 goes, and he hasn't trained for Andy Ruiz.
Yeah.
And
that got him the first time, which is...
Hergovich, which I don't know whether Hergovich is a southpaw, possibly, and he hasn't trained for a southpaw.
So, Joshua's going to be fighting Robert
Helenius, the Nordic nightmare. Now, come back to that first off. Dillian White failing a drug test. You're innocent till proven guilty, so I'm going to wait to find out the results, blah, de, blah, de, blah. Everyone seems in shock about it.
Mm-hmm.
If he has failed a drugs test, that's it for his career. As far as I'm concerned, he'll never ever fight again.
Because it's not the first time.
No, it's not the first time. It's a bloody shame because it was starting to become a lot of talk about it. It was a good fight for Joshua. It was it wasn't
a good fight for both of them.
Yeah, it wasn't a foregone conclusion. So it's really disappointing, and it feels DAZN have knocked it off their pay-per-view platform.
Yeah.
So Joshua's money goes
down. Yeah.
People are going to want refunds on tickets. So
it's
well done for Eddie Hearn for keeping the event going, because there's a lot of other boxers on there, and like he said, they only get paid if they fight.
Yeah.
I think he's got 14 other boxers on there, so there's, I think, 7 fights in total, and there's some good
fights. Well, Chisora's on there.
Chisora, Washington, Hergovich, Dempsey McKean, just Campbell Hatton's on there. So there's some
good fights.
Good fights on there. So if you have got tickets, go and watch it. It is going to be a good event. I'm going to watch it. I'm glad it's not on pay-per-view, because now I can watch it for free. But for Dillian White, I'm not going to comment until
we don't know anything, so we'll withhold judgment.
I know Dillian White's released a statement saying, he's saying he's innocent and he'll prove it. He's got a long road ahead and a big battle. from what I've listened to Eddie Hearn saying this morning, he phoned Joshua and Joshua's like, get me a fight. Now, obviously, Joshua is going to be fighting Wilder. Doesn't look like it's going to be December. It looks like it's going to be January, February.
Yeah.
And this is why I can see why they picked Robert Helenius then, 6'9".
He's a bit more similar to Wilder than...
it doesn't possess the power, or I'd say, but he's most probably got better boxing skills than Deontay Wilder though. Beaten, he fought Deontay Wilder, got knocked out, was it in a round, I think, or something. Beating Kalnaki, beating Chisora. Dillian White did him on points. So he has got a
decent pedigree.
Fairly good pedigree. Yeah, he's 39 years of age. It's the best of a bad bunch, but at least the fight's going ahead.
Well, I think it's more of a build-up for, like I said, Wilder and Cobra. Fury's more of that size type, not type, but size of fighter, so it's a bit better. The only thing is, do you think he's prepared for that sort of size? Because obviously White is not that shape. Or do you think they're prepared generally?
Well, I know they used to be sparring partners, Joshua Helenius, so they are going to know each other quite well. And there's always a risk of taking a fight at short notice, isn't there? It doesn't matter who it, as Joshua knows against Andy Ruiz. Robert Helenius was fighting last Saturday, won by knockout in the 6th round. So he's going to be quite confident, I think, Robert Helenius. And I think he's just going to go in there and just put it straight on Joshua. There's all this talk about Joshua's mental state, and so we could just go in there and just start throwing bombs.
I think Joshua needs to be tested in a pressure fight, isn't it? Rather than an easy fight.
Yeah, it's not the fight we wanted, but at least there's a fight going ahead. I think everyone's expecting Joshua just to basically Robert Helenius' cannon fodder, and
I'm not so sure that's going to be the way. I think he's been working on his defensive side, so I think that will be the bit interesting.
I think this is what
boxing skills.
I think this is what Joshua was saying. He's never felt so good in a training camp, and this is why he wants to fight, because they could have cancelled the whole show and fought again in October, but then that puts the Saudi fight against Wilder back to April, May, whenever. Now, we don't know the ins and outs of this Saudi fight against Wilder. I think it's already signed, sealed, delivered. Eddie Hearn and stuff are saying no, it's not, but
I think that's just not to put too much pressure on the fight, isn't it?
I think it is. But this would be a good test for him. 6'9" guy. Like I say,
seasoned professional.
Yeah. And we want to see what Joshua's been working on.
Well, he needed to improve on things. Yeah. I think certain things, obviously he's been good. There's a mental state issue because, that seems to have had a big effect. Although I'm not so sure against Usyk that was a big issue. I think Usyk's just exceptional at boxer, so technical boxer, and he's probably third on the pound for pound list after our two guys. I think
what they're saying is it was after the Usyk fight, wasn't he? Because he lost his cool. But what do you want a guy to do who's just lost his world titles and then the rematch sit there? You're going to be upset and angry.
Well, I think he was in a similar place to like what Spence has done and Fulton has done, where you realise you're up just against the guy who's just better. He's a much better, but Usyk's an exceptional boxer. Joshua was always a fighter. It was based on his size and his power rather than. I mean, he's very clean, in his technique, but he's not a technical fighter.
Was he cares that he's lost?
Yeah, which is more important than
he doesn't. Because against Andy Ruiz, when he lost the first time, he was in the ring. He was shaking his hand, blah blah blah. But against Usyk, now he'd lost his temper. I want to see that.
Well, that's why I'm going to see him come out. That's what made him
good. A lot
of
people criticised him for it, saying, he's had a mental breakdown. No, he's not. He's just lost his belts or, in the rematch.
Well, you got to remember, normally when he's had a rematch, he's won. Like a Ruiz, obviously, he turned it around. It wasn't a great fight, but he just kept him on the end of his jab, and at least he showed he could box a bit.
Yeah. You put in all your hard work for a 12-week camp. You've put everything you want in the ring, and you've got beat. You're going to be...
Yeah, you're obviously going
to be annoyed and upset. And not. Joshua showed that. Yeah, he showed it in front of the cameras, but good. Yeah,
you've got to have a bit of passion.
And
And
He's
I think
on
that's what's in this, isn't it? That's what it shows, that he's still got a bit of fight in him. So I think that's what makes
and
it
you know,
useful.
before the Dillian White drug test, White's a dangerous live opponent for Anthony Joshua. He didn't need to take it. He could wait till the Saudi fight against Deontay Wilder, which is what reportedly 48 million or something. He could have waited for that, but he said, "No, I want to fight." He could have picked.
You've always got to respect Joshua because he hasn't ducked fights.
No, he's never ducked
as
anyone.
far as we can tell. No. Yeah, obviously there's arrangements in boxing, but I don't think it's Joshua who's ever been. I think obviously there's the people who make the matches and the stuff on that. But at least I think Hearn is usually better than most. But he hasn't ducked it. And I think that we said that I said that when he fought Usyk. People didn't really know who Usyk was. I was like, this is the wrong way order. I think he should have fought then. Probably fought Fury. Probably fought Wilder and then Fury and then come around to Usyk. Because I think Wilder, the thing is, Joshua can get caught. But if he managed to stay clear, I think Joshua wins that. Now in the thing, depending on how he fights in this, I think Wilder catches him. But I think Joshua versus Fury, Joshua beats Fury. The old Joshua beats Fury because I think he's got enough about. He won't get bullied as much as like what Fury normally does to the guys. Joshua's big enough and strong enough where he can't bully him. Yeah. And he's bigger than Wilder. And Wilder was pretty close and nearly had him out. And I think he's got a bit more boxing technique around him rather than Wilder, that he gets a good fight. And I think he should have fought Usyk last because I always thought he was going to get beat there. But, hopefully he gets back to his old self, which is what we all want to see in this fight.
Yeah, we do. We want to see the best.
And actually, I don't want to see a one-round knockout. I want to see it get to about 7 or 8 rounds so we can actually see, and he gets tested.
Yeah.
Gets caught by one, see how he deals with it, catches him, boxes it. Well, not do a bore fest. Get back to his old sort of way where he's not afraid. He's coming forward. But he's also being defensively savvy. So he's, there's more technique because he's got older as well.
Yeah, and let's not forget this is what Klitschko did when he was.
Yeah. You've got to evolve as you go on.
Yeah, did. Was it Corey? Not Corey Sanders. That little South African guy. Might have been Corey Sanders actually that destroyed Klitschko, and then Klitschko went over to Manny Stewart, and it was always safety first, and everyone said it was boring, but Klitschko ruled the division for 10 years with that boring technique, and he still knocked most people out, but he just systematically broke them down over a long period of time.
They just told him to be a bit more patient, and I think it's with Joshua's, we know he's got the power. He's a really good knockout ratio. But a bit of patience, a bit of more technique, and a little bit more defensive savvy. And you can see it's easy to blame, but you can see why he didn't need it. Because if you look at, I watched the first White and Joshua fight, obviously preparing for this, and he was getting hit by some good shots, but he still kept going forward, didn't really get rocked. He got buzzed a few times. But he knew he was going to get there, and that's the problem. When you keep winning, you obviously go into the method that works.
Yeah. I like Joshua. I'm a massive fan of Joshua. I always have been a massive fan of Joshua. I think he's elevated boxing massively.
I think as a personality and an entertainer, he's always been there. Would I say as a boxer? No, because I don't think his boxing skill is great. It's good. It's not great. But I think as the poster boy for boxing, he's done more for it. He's the biggest sell. I think even more than before this thing, even more than Canelo. I was going to say
more than Canelo, more than Fury.
We'll be equal now. He's probably equal with Canelo. He's bigger than Fury. Him and Canelo are the no-nos.
He had 5 or 6 back-to-back stadium fights, and I'm not talking O2. I'm talking Wembley Stadium, Tottenham, Millennium, and everyone was sold out. Yeah.
Well, I think they sold out the tickets for this fight in a day.
A day. No one does that.
Yeah. He's the biggest draw. And I think it's only Canelo with his Mexican entourage and obviously world following.
Tyson Fury's never sold out 5 stadiums on the bounty. I think he sold out Wembley against Dillian White.
So what do we think is going to happen here between Joshua and Helenius? Well, should we start with what type of fight do you think it's going to be? Because how do you think it's going to play out? And then we'll make our predictions of outcome.
Joshua round 3 KO.
Okay.
I think Joshua's going to get angry. I think I think Joshua's angry. Not with Helenius, but I just think I'm fed up.
You think he's got a bit back of the old
I'm
Joshua?
putting out a statement. My fight's been cancelled.
Well, I'm hoping he comes back with a bit of the old Joshua, but with the
Yeah.
the boxing skills added on from like his camp and where he is with training with the likes of Errol, Spence and co, isn't it, with Derek James?
The reason I think it goes early is I think Helenius is going to try and jump on Joshua
Yeah.
from the bell, and he's going to get caught. Don't forget, Joshua's got a really good uppercut on him.
Yeah. Well, he's got a few good punches, a few good hooks as well.
Although, has Joshua ever fought anyone this size before?
I don't think he's fought anybody taller, like loads, because he's going to be, what, 2-3 inches taller?
Yeah, apart from Klitschko.
Klitschko's about similar, though, 6'7", 6'6", isn't he? So Fury is the only one that height, isn't he? And he hasn't fought him. Wilder's similar, but he hasn't fought him.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he deals with
Wilder's
the bigger man.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, it depends how good his preparation is, because obviously you're praying for White, who's a bit shorter, who's 6'4", 6'3", or whatever. So I think it'd be interesting seeing. It might last a little bit longer because he'll be feeling him out. But yeah, if you were Helenius, I think you go after, especially as he's only fought recently and won.
yeah, on Saturday.
Yeah, a week earlier. Then I think you're probably going to apply the pressure, go forward and do it, and then he might get caught.
The other thing is
I want to get to about 7 or 8 rounds, though.
Is Wilder knocked Helenius out in a round, or was it 2 rounds? Is Joshua going to want to try and do the
Wilder's
same?
a different type of fighter, though, isn't he? He's just aiming for that one punch, and if he catches you, it's all over. That's the thing. I don't think that's ever been really Joshua's game. He's more systematic, but like fast. But I think if I was him, I'd want to get a fight, have a bit of more rounds, get a bit further. You'd want at least 6 rounds, 7, 8 rounds to get a bit of a test and then take him out. I'd like to see him be a bit patient.
Yeah, okay. What, like he was against Pulev?
Well, yeah, fight a bit more
Yeah.
like a technical fight rather than just go out. I mean, I think he could like do what you said in about 2 or 3 rounds. I think he could clear him out of there. He could clear him out in a round. He's got a bit of power and stuff to do it. But I think for him as a fight, if you're going to fight Wilder and other people after that, I think for his own development, about 7, 8 rounds, get to there and then finish him off. But systematic breakdown than a catch.
Well, that's what he used to do. If you look at the likes of the Carlos Takam, Alexander Povetkin, Brazil, I think they were all around about 6, 7, 8 rounds.
Yeah.
I think Takam was 11, and he did break them down.
Yours down. Your 3rd round knockout.
Yeah, I'm going for
KO.
I'm going to stick with round 3.
I think 8 round KO to Joshua. More systematic breakdown. And because I want to see a bit of a fight, 3 rounds. 6, 7 minutes.
I think if you want to see a bit of a fight, watch the undercard Chisora against Washington, Hergovich. There's some
good fights in that.
Derek Chisora has never been in a dull fight, really, well, apart from the Tyson Fury fight.
But I don't think that's on him.
No. But against Washington, that's going to be a good fight. And then after this, we've got some more cracking fights coming up, which
we will be previewing and hopefully reviewing after.
The likes of Usyk, Dubois, Joe Joyce, Lei Zhang.
Yep.
So there are some fights in the heavyweight division that are happening. It's not all just rubbish.
Well, I think there's one man's mainly holding it up. I think a lot of the others are trying to get them there. I don't think they've been avoiding as much.
So yeah, it's going to be, and there's a few other crackers out there as well. There's a super featherweight title fight this weekend as well, I think. Oscar Valdez.
Good fighter.
So that'll be interesting as well. But now I'm looking forward to seeing Joshua back. I like watching his fights.
He's a big draw and it's entertaining.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he's going to see. And it'll be interesting to see how he's developed with a new trainer.
And then maybe in a couple of weeks we'll find out what's happening with Dillian White and we'll discuss that. I hope to God he's innocent. But this is why we have the WADA and stuff drug test, so it's good that it's been found in the system But like,
Well,
say,
yeah, once we know more, we can discuss that. But the thing is, it would be disappointing if if it is guilty, because then I think that, like you said, career over.
Oh yeah, this career's over and he's tarnished forever. Because like we say, it's not the first time.
Yeah, he's been in trouble.
He's been in trouble for stuff like this, and I don't think Eddie Hearn. Not saying Eddie Hearn's backed him in the past, but I think the trouble Eddie Hearn went through with Conor Benn, I don't think he's going to be.
Yeah, I think there are different stages.
Yeah,
of their careers.
I don't think he's going to be coming out every day saying how innocent Dillian White is. I think he's just going to leave him to it this time and just say, you deal with this one.
At that stage of career,
well, and to be honest, Eddie Hearn's not his promoter, he's not his manager, so he doesn't have to be. So it'd be very, very disappointing if he is found.
If he is found, it's very disappointing for everybody. I think for himself, for everybody
Oh,
else.
for
And
boxing.
that's the end of career.
Yeah, for
And
boxing.
I think he's still got a few good fights in him. It would be nice to see him complete those. And we don't want anybody to be in that kind of trouble. Unless they've really got themselves into that. So we'll be back with some more reviews and previews, and we'll call it a day there, isn't it? But I think we've been spoiled with our first couple of fights.
Yeah, I just hope
it's a lot to live up to.
Yeah.
Well, I think from performance, it's not fights because they were pretty one-sided.
But I think if you look at the calendar, I know there are a few.
Usyk Dubois I'm looking for. Joshua White we were, but Joshua
there's a few
whoever.
really good domestic fights coming up as well. And there's a few good non-title fights which are...
Well, there's a few good up-and-coming fighters, which is interesting to see. And I think, as much as we like to watch the people we're fanboys of, I think it'd be nice to see who's coming along because they're getting towards the end of their careers.
Yeah, but I mean, because you are coming to the crop at the end of... I remember when it was the end, I mean, because my era was Pacquiao, Kawasaki, there was Ricky Hatton. And I remember when that... Because they all kind of finished within the same 2-year period. And it was like... Wow. And you come into the... And then it was... You had Amir Khan, Kell Brook...
we have been quite lucky.
Yeah,
who's been come through.
So now
Joshua
you've got
came
the like
through then as well,
Joshua, Usyk, Fury, but they're not in their 20s. They're coming to their end of the career.
Wilder's older.
So
there's,
it is time to let's start looking at the new guys coming through. I mean, you can't even say Joe Joyce or Leizan because I think they're both we're both 38, 39. So yeah, we are gonna have a look at the young up and comers that come through. I think what we'll do is we'll have a little, maybe in the future, is pick your top 3 to look out for.
Yep.
That'll be an interesting one.
Yep. I think we need to build it up. But we've got enough to get going with, and then hopefully all these will live up to the hype, and then we can
be better at.
And we started well. We picked some. Yeah, I think we got lucky in our timing.
Very lucky.
Okie dokie. Thank you very much for listening. Till the next time.
Yeah, see you soon.